Recognize that our patients' faith are central, not peripheral to their health. My colleagues, I invite you to reclaim your role as spiritual healers. Whether you practice Islam, Christianity, Judaism, or another religion, or no tradition at all, you have within you the power to address the profound spiritual suffering our patients carry. As healers, we must rise beyond merely fixing bodies to nurturing souls. Welcome, folks, to our third episode of Unmuted, the Diaries of the Virtual Psychiatrist. Peace be upon you, and welcome to this episode where we talk about divine healing, the sacred journey of medicine. Today, we will journey together into an often overlooked dimension of healthcare, the spiritual connection between physician and patient. As a physician who was raised in the ancient city of Aleppo with a deep Muslim faith shaping my worldview, I've witnessed how medicine is not merely a science, but a sacred calling profoundly intertwined with spirituality. Now, most U.S. adults believe in God or a universal deity, yet spirituality and the relationship with the divine is not routinely addressed in clinical care. The majority of U.S. adults report that they have relied on healing prayers for themselves or have offered healing prayers for others. And as the United States and even the rest of the world face adversity, turmoil, difficult times, and engage in wars, there's significant spiritual distress. It is always important to reflect on how we can better incorporate the fields of medicine, religion, and spirituality. As a physician who has faced lots of adversity throughout my life, it is my clinging to my belief in God, my spirituality, and the practice of prayer that have sustained me throughout these dark times. I've also used healing prayers when I was faced with health adversities myself. And Lord knows I've faced so many of them in the past. Growing up in Aleppo, Syria, I've walked through layers of history, echoing the footsteps of healers who understood something fundamental. Medicine and spirituality are inseparable. Aleppo, as I've told you, the oldest city in the world, is the home to the Bimar Stagoni, the world's first psychiatric hospital, where care blended compassion, spiritual nurturing, and humane treatment centuries before such concepts were embraced by the West. In this ancient tradition, the physician was both a healer and a spiritual companion for his patients, understanding deeply that illness is more than just a physical manifestation. It is an invitation to explore profound questions of meaning, purpose, and transcendence. Now, an increasing number of physicians are recognizing that spirituality is a core patient need and has a significant beneficial effect on health. Nonetheless, some in the physician community believe that spirituality conflicts with modern medical science. Spirituality encompasses several domains of connectedness. Those include a personal domain, which involves the relationship with oneself, a communal domain that involves the relationship with others, and a transcendental domain that reflects our relationship with the divine. Healthy spirituality has always been grounded in reality, in awareness, with an emphasis on hopeful openness and loving connectedness. Prayer is often defined as the communication between the person and the higher power, whether it be God, Allah, Yahweh, Lord Jesus, or the divine. And prayer has always occupied a unique place in spirituality because it's a practice that transcends cultures and religious traditions. Prayer also has always been thought as a form of personal and spiritual expression. And there is a growing clinical evidence that tells us that there is a potential and therapeutic benefit to the health of those who pray. Prayer can also serve as a coping mechanism, offer humans comfort and hope, and a sense of connection during distressing times. For prayers can act as an outlet of expressing emotions, seeking guidance, and fostering resilience. Let's hear the Islamic call for prayer. Let's hear how that echoes when the caller for prayer mentions the name of God and asks people to come and pray.
Should I a mosque? جسر اسطنبول يظهر من هنا القسم الأوروبي من اسطنبول. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. جامع في تركيا. صدق الزهور.
fast forward to modern medicine in America. Here, spirituality often sits awkwardly beside evidenced practice. Despite the undeniable importance of science, something vital is missing. When we disregard the spiritual needs of our patients, we are missing something. We're not integrating spirituality, patient's care, and thus we are causing reduced patient outcomes. There's a reduced empathy, and there's a decreased trust in clinical relationship. We know that spirituality is expressed through our beliefs, through the values that we practice, the traditions that we follow, and how we conduct ourselves in our clinical practice as physicians. The international consensus on improving spiritual dimension of whole person care defined spirituality as a dynamic and intrinsic aspect of humanity, through which persons seeking ultimate meaning, purpose, and transcendence and experience relationship to self, family, others, community, society, nature, and the significant or sacred. Now, a practicing physician who seeks to alleviate the suffering of his patients incurs the duty to accompany them in their illness, on their illness journey, on their illness, and he incurs the obligation to care for their soul as much as he's caring for their body. The field of medicine has always been intertwined with spirituality, and it's always been shrouded with religious values. Many U.S. healthcare institutions were founded by religious organizations, as the role of healers was recognized in priests and shamans. For many centuries, the profession of medicine has embodied the care of both the flesh and the spirit, and patients often viewed their treating physician as a secular priest and shaman who helped them navigate the tumultuous spiritual domain of their medical care. Now, let's share a personal story. A patient of mine who was experiencing significant psychiatric distress. He was experiencing issues related to his medications that he couldn't take. He believed that God wanted him to suffer, and that his distress and psychological pain was necessary to atone for his past sins. I, part of his treatment team, really struggled with this belief. But through conversations with him, I learned something crucial. His beliefs were not obstacles. They were gateways to deeper healing. This isn't isolated. Many of our patients grapple with their spiritual suffering and silently asking profound questions about their illness and its meaning. As physicians, if we ignore these questions, we miss our greatest opportunity to truly heal. Now, going back to evidence-based medicine, a Cochrane review on spirituality and prayer found that evidence regarding the health benefits of one praying for themselves are supported by significant evidence. There's a link. One's praying for themselves and improving health outcomes. So if you pray for yourself, this is helpful. The Cochrane review really found that if you pray for yourself, there's a chance that you get some healing. And the beneficial effect of prayer on metabolism, heart rate, blood pressure, breathing, and brain activity is significant and indicates that one praying for themselves shows that these parameters improve and there's an improved health outcome. Nonetheless, a Cochrane review of trials intercessory prayers Now, intercessory prayers means that somebody is praying for someone else. They've concluded that the evidence was promising enough to justify further research, but there was not enough scientific evidence to support that praying for others improved their outcomes. Now, this is quite interesting because it turns out that petitioning gods for others seems to be pointless. Just pray for yourself. Just be caring for yourself, and praying for others, according to the Cochrane Review, does not have any scientific evidence. Although our thoughts and prayers can signal to others that they are not alone and may be a source of comfort to them. Now, a question. What does happen when we interact with our patients who display spirituality? As a Muslim physician, my traditions were deeply shaped in terms of my religion and have clearly influenced my approach to medicine. My faith taught me compassion, mercy, and intentions, reminding me that every action, every word, every treatment I offer carries spiritual significance. I whisper in the name of God before I tend to a treatment to a patient, before I give him an injection, before I give him a medication, before I administer transcranial magnetic stimulation. I whisper in the name of God. It's not just a ritual. It's a recognition of the divine within my practice. Personally, spirituality has sustained me, especially through challenging times, including times where I faced intense legal scrutiny. Prayer became my refuge. It reinforced my conviction that medicine, at its best, can act as a profound spiritual service. It is also questionable. Future clinical research and clinical trials will really conclusively prove the answer, whether prayer heals. It is definitive that individuals who pray for themselves will receive positive outcomes. How about praying for others? We don't know. But it is that close connection to the divine, to God, that people are more likely to pray for healing, either for themselves or for others. And they can do that alone or in groups. And that those individuals are the ones that may experience the most benefit in health outcomes from such exercise as compared to the placebo. So if you pray for yourself and you pray for others, you're more likely to benefit. We think there's a biological component, but we're not sure, and we need a lot more studies. But in most studies, the one most consistent predictor whether a prayer was going to help or not was a loving relationship with the divine, a loving relationship with God, Allah, a loving relationship with Lord the Father. Now, how do we then bridge the connection between medicine and spirituality? First, we got to acknowledge the patient's spirituality, and we have to acknowledge the patient's spirituality is connected to his well, and it directly influences their physical health as well as their spiritual health. We also should understand that we should seek help from chaplains, from priests, from shamans, from sheikhs, from imams. For Muslim physicians, this may be integrating Islamic traditions of healing into clinical practice. For Christians, it's the same. For Jewish, it's the same. Create a space for a spiritual dialogue. Doesn't matter what the patient believes in. Recognize that our patient's faith are central, not peripheral to their health. My colleagues, I invite you to reclaim your role as spiritual healers. Now let us listen to this prayer, this beautiful prayer in Aramaic and in Arabic, the language of the Lord Jesus Christ, in this most beautiful church. This priest is praying for a newlywed. And you can hear how this hopeful prayer impact their ability to move on in their future. Let's listen.
وبدمه كتبتها نارا وبمسامه أعطى خاتما بارك بنعمتك هذين الخاتمين اللذين نعطيهما لعبدك فارس ومكامل مثل ما تبارك خاتما لعلو قدسا هذا هو الخاتم الذي به كتبت سارة لإبراهيم ورفقة لإسحاق ورحيم ليعقوب وإنه وبه تخطب النساء الرجال ويقترن الأختان والعرائس فاجعلهما يا رب ختما صالحا لخطبة ابنتنا ميري وابننا فارس ليذكرا أولادا بارين وباركهما وأهلهما أن يتمما عهدهما بفرح فيحمداك الآن وإلى أبد الآبدين
Again, I invite you to reclaim your role as a spiritual healer, whether you practice Islam, Christianity, Judaism, or another religion, or no tradition at all. You have within you the power to address the profound spiritual suffering our patients carry. As healers, we must rise beyond merely fixing bodies to nurturing souls. It is therefore important to foster a new generation of physicians who harbor a better understanding of the interaction between healing, health, spirituality, and the divine. For the physicians themselves, and that includes our fellow medical students and resident physicians, the emphasis has never been more acute as physicians' burnout is increasing, and attention to the issue of spirituality can really help improve the understanding of the inner focus of the physician. A better training on the aspect of spirituality in medicine can really help facilitate a better understanding of the meaning, purpose, and the call to serve. Tending to spirituality in the physician community can foster authenticity and a compassionate presence to self, requiring an understanding of spirituality as an integral part of medical education can really help the World Health Organization's long-standing definition of health as a state of complete physical, mental, and societal well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. There is an urgent need to train current and future physicians on exploring the spiritual history of their patients and understanding the role of spiritual distress and how is it related to the medical illness, the diagnosis, and the treatment. It is imperative to incorporate a biopsychosocial spiritual assessment into our treatment plans and that this can have a long way in endearing the compassionate presence of physicians to a person suffering, and to emphasize that spirituality can certainly be utilized as a positive health outcome and can also be used in reducing mortality and morbidity from disease. As to myself, I always attempt to submit my own prayers regularly, and I always ask my patients, pray for me, albeit this is not evidence-based. In closing, let us offer a prayer, one universal enough for all healers, yet deeply resonant within my own Islamic tradition. O divine healer, grant us compassion in our touch, wisdom in our decisions, and humility in our hearts. Let us not see just the illness, but the whole being before us. Guide our hands and hearts so we may become vessels of your mercy and peace. Thank you for joining me today on this divine healing trip, because I believe that we have a journey with our patients. I believe that we are companion of our patients through their difficult journey in health and in sickness. Until next time, peace be upon you, and may you practice humility, compassion, and be forever touched by the sacred. I'm Dr. Muhammad Ali Rifai, the virtual psychiatrist, and this is Unmuted. Thank you.